I'm sure you've missed me, not being able to see each other for a few days, but I wanted to begin by just telling this group of the regulars, like, thank you for accepting me, and thanks for bearing with me, if you will, through my journey through my first managerial season. Yeah, I thought this part of it, in terms of the relationships that we've built, really made it easy every day. Easy is not the right word, but enjoyable every day, just being around guys, and you seem like really great people. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you bearing with me and looking past some of my idiosyncrasies or weaknesses, whatever it might be. So thanks. And I missed you.
All right, thanks, Murph. We're going to go right into questions, and we'll start with Kurt.
So, Murph, I think I speak on behalf of everyone that we appreciate that, and we appreciate the daily interactions with you as well this year. It was a good year from that standpoint. But just to go into the questions here, how would you assess or describe your first year as a full-time manager?
Me personally?
Yeah. How do you think it went for you?
It was a work in progress. I think there's a lot to be learned, and I'm kind of mindful of the process, and a lot of it is like repetitive for me. Like other times in my life where I went into something where my heart was really in the right place, and I was doing it for the right reasons, and I was certain that regardless of the expectation, regardless of what anybody else thought, I was certain of a few things. And yeah, so it lined up. I didn't have to try too hard. I was very genuine, and I like when I can be that way. And I think it's a product of being with the organization for a lot of years, understanding a lot of how things go on, and then sitting watching and knowing that, like, I would maybe do this, or maybe this would be an opportunity for this. So I think from that standpoint, I learned a lot, and I had a lot of great moments personally. Got to meet a lot of people, got to see some people I haven't seen in years. So I assess it as just a blessing, and I was really grateful for it. Still kind of putting it all together and reflecting.
Go to Steve McGargy.
Congratulations on the season. I was just wondering, how do you kind of process you are so close to getting to the next round after such a heartbreaking loss? How long did it take you to kind of, I don't know if you ever get over, but to kind of move past that and start looking toward the next season? I know I've talked to players in the past who've had tough playoff losses, and they can't watch the rest of the playoff games, or at least they say they can't. Do you kind of have you been watching the rest of the postseason, or is it too painful?
I've watched every inning, of the playoffs, because I love it. I love learning. There's a lot to be learned at that time, and a lot to be reinforced at that time. So yeah, I enjoy it. I watch the playoffs no matter what. When I was a college coach 30 years ago, So how long did it take? I don't know. I've had other heartbreaking losses, maybe none as devastating as that, but I'm pretty quick to respond. And I had help. My son, my 23-year-old, who's a minor league player, he was with me the whole time. So he heard all the crap that I was preaching to him for all the years. So he didn't let me stay down for too long. And so that was very fortunate. But I've gotten past it, and onward.
Todd.
Hey, Murph, good to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Pleasure.
Just wondering, on a personal level, what are you most proud of from this season? A lot happened, from spring training on. what your ultimate breakdown of the season, what do you think you're most proud of? It could be personally or it could be as a team.
I think what I'm most proud of is the way they competed, like the consistency of the competition, like they competed nearly every night. And to be part of something like that is special. The 2024 season is special for me. Now, there's not too many seasons that aren't special, so I'm not trying to make the 2024 season greater than the other ones, but it has a special flair to it because there were so many young players who developed a belief system. And watching that, Todd, is the greatest thing we can do in our profession. To watch players become more disciplined, to accept our love and see it, pan out in players believing in themselves as major leaguers. Wow. That's a thrill that you don't forget. That's like something that if you haven't done it, if you haven't been in this role, when that happens, and I'm not saying I had anything to do with it. I'm just saying when you see that happen and you're part of that unit, that's a tremendous gift. So I think that's what I feel best about is the way they consistently, we didn't go in big swoons, and you got to credit the front office for supplying just the depth and quality, and they stick to their guns about the types of players they go and get, and they're right most of the time. And it's like it's a tribute to all of us to see the unit go out and compete. And nobody can honestly say after the Burns trade and after Williams being down, and then after Miley going down, and then knowing Woodruff was out for the year, no one could say you'd run away with the division when everyone in the division was bolstering their team to compete this year because they thought we were down. So I think that consistency in how they competed would have to be number one.
Adam, go ahead.
Hey Murph, thank you for doing this, and thank you all season for letting us ask sort of the tactical questions and giving such thoughtful answers to the fans. That doesn't happen everywhere, and I think
Thanks.
Everyone really appreciates it.
Thank you for saying that, Adam. I do appreciate it. I appreciate you guys and the good questions and the occasional. I'm surprised you're fourth today. I'm surprised you're fourth. If you pissed off Mike or something?
No, I waited to ask a good one.
Cleanup hitter.
Matt indicated that sort of after a week of processing that the meetings begin today of kind of looking forward. And we know how much everybody wants to kind of take the next step and move on in the postseason. If he asks you, what do you think we need to do that? I know that's a big question and not a simple answer, but where would you start, Murph, if you had to think about what this organization would need this offseason in order to take that next step that you want to take?
Yeah, I don't think it's as easy as that, Adam. I don't think what you're saying is we're playing at a certain level because of one game or one series where there was a couple miscues in one game and then an unfortunate end. I don't think that means we're at this level and that the Mets are at this level. The Mets are the hottest team in baseball, and we ran into them. And it just happened that the last 4 or 5 years, we've run into the hottest team in the National League in the first round of the playoffs. That's been documented. So for fans that say whatever, and I don't know what the fans are saying, but I appreciate them and their passion. But it's not like we're at this level and then whoever wins that playoff game's at the next level. I mean, we beat the Mets 5 out of 6 during the year. Playing one game or 3-game series in the playoffs doesn't indicate where your program's at. I feel like, to answer your question specifically, I think you start with yourself and you say, okay, what are the 4 or 5 things that I think I have to do different? And then you ask people that that might know something about this position, and then they tell you, here's what I saw, here's what I saw. There's not many people that know this position, but you do have to have that in your Rolodex to be able to, try to get better. But then from an organizational standpoint, I have to look at my specific areas and say, okay, how do we grow? Not how do we be popular, not how do we make, decisions that everybody can palate and be comfortable with. Just like the decision to trade Corbin Burns, I'm sure there was plenty of people that didn't understand it. So you have to be able to prepare yourself and then talk through things with the powers that be in the organization. But to me, that's where we start. Did I go flipped on you here? Somebody, sorry, I can't talk right now. I got calls coming in. Sorry, guys, if I flipped on you. Where was I, Adam? You know me, I can't hold the thought very long.
No, you answered it completely. I appreciate that.
All right, we'll go to Dave Gasper.
Dave Gasper.
Yeah, the Brew Stew. So Murph, obviously you've had a couple of big, player successes this year with Jackson Churio and Tobias Myers really kind of stepping out, the most or standing out. Who are some of the other guys? Obviously you've had a young group. Who are some of the other guys who kind of stood out to you and how they developed or improved this year or handled adversity that came at them?
Yeah, I look at from a position player standpoint, I look at Terang, Ortiz, Perkins, even Mitchell, knowing Mitchell's been there. I look at those guys. I look at who else took that step. I look at the pitchers. I look at Koenig and Hudson, and I look at Nick Mears, how it finished. I look at Ashby for sure. This kid's been through a lot. Like Mitchell, they've been through a lot, and for them to come back and be strong at the end is great. I think William Contreras grew this year, although he didn't finish the way he wanted to. He still probably is, one of the top catchers, but he's got a ways to go, and he can be really, really special. So I'm probably missing some guys too, when I think about guys that made big steps, but sometimes I see things that are not going to necessarily come out on the field, but I thought there was players that got their feet wet this year in the big leagues that might help us next year. Tyler Black and Oliver Dunn. I look at them and say, yeah, maybe.
Go back to
Sal Frelick. Come on, Sal. I didn't mention Sal, but people get on me because I'm always talking about Sal. But if that guy didn't establish himself as why he's here, it doesn't always look like it's a pure baseball player. But man, I want to tell you something. If he didn't ingratiate himself to everyone watching just by the way he competed. So that bodes well that I think those guys took a step. We're not going to sneak up on anyone, but yeah, I thought those are some. I hope that answered.
All right, Steve.
I'm just wondering, in your post-game press conference the other night, you had talked about what Devin's meant to the franchise and everything and how helpful he's been. I'm just wondering if you've had a chance to talk to him since that night and just what, don't know if you want to share what he said, but just what he's kind of been dealing with and how he's kind of dealt with it so far. I don't know if you have spoken since that night.
I have. We had a long conversation, and Devin's a pro, man. He really is. You want to talk about, I believe, someone who handled himself incredible all year. He's not a guy that's going to shy away from saying what he feels. And I want to tell you that he handled that as well as I didn't read any post game, or I don't. You guys know I don't read the stuff, but I know from him talking to me. I mean, he feels horrible. He loves the Brewers. Yeah, it's one inning. Any other club? Look at the kid from the Mets. I mean, the kid from the Mets has had some horrible results, but he bounced back, and he's a warrior too. And I believe Devin would bounce back and win the next game if it happened in the second game. So, yeah, he feels awful, but the reason he was reliever of the year for 2 years is he knows how to let it go, wash it off, and get back on it.
We'll go back to Kurt.
Murph, do you anticipate any turnover on your staff?
Well, we're talking about that right now. Like we're talking about all the staff members and what little tweaks. When you have a managerial change and then you basically just keep everyone. We added a guy or two here or there, but you don't really know how it's all going to go. So I think we'll discuss all that and at length. I've made a ton of notes, and yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. And they deserve a lot of credit. I want to tell you right now, dealing with me in my first year and knowing me in a different role, and then having me move across the hall, and yeah, I appreciate them, what they did, and just like the front office. Sometimes managers and front office don't have, people think in today's day of analytics that we're on different pages, and a lot of times we are, but it's not, because it's not an understanding and a respect for each other. And yeah, it's been unbelievable. If people don't recognize, Kurt, that over this time, I guess I've been here 9 seasons. If they don't recognize how the Brewers didn't rebuild, the Brewers, because of the support of the owner every year, even though we have maybe a low budget and maybe we have 1/3 of the budget the Mets or these teams that are in there with us every year, we still get the support that allows the front office to do the job that they've done. It's remarkable how they come up with these guys. Who are these guys? And they always seem to find someone who breaks through and becomes a real dude. And that's special. So respect is something that's there. It's great respect, but to be in the playoffs 6 out of 7 and to be one of the most successful teams in Major League with the smallest market and one of the smallest budgets, people need to start recognizing the Brewers are the underdog. But what they've done to ask them to go, hey, well, you better now, you got to get. I heard a stupid comment the other day. Somebody said this, Kurt. It wasn't you. It might have been somebody in the room, but I'm kidding. But someone says, the Brewers got the regular season figured out. Now they got to figure out the playoffs. Like, that's absurd that you'd say that if you really know baseball. Like, we don't have the regular season figured out. It's a grind every freaking year to get to be where they have been. And I've watched it. I've felt it. It's labor intensive because we are working with less, because we are in a position where we have to maneuver. It isn't a matter of, well, the Brewers are just always good. Well, that is a fact, but it's a different type of rebuild almost every year, not a total rebuild. And that's a credit to the front office, how, and their team and all that goes into putting together the team next year, knowing that, for instance, we're not going to sign Willie Damas, and we've got to do other things to get under budget because everybody gets paid more every year, the better they play and all that, that. So for me, to say we have the regular season figured out is an embarrassment that you'd even think that way. But it is a credit to the Brewers how consistent they've been, regardless of the resources, regardless of the thing. And it says something that our owner wants to compete every year and gives them at least the ability to work their magic. So, yeah. Taking the next step will require the same type of effort, because we could have easily taken the next step and we could have easily been in the same position that any of these other teams are in right now. It's not a matter of being good enough, and making the right call and all that kind of stuff. A lot of it just happens at this time of year in baseball. Not, are you going to say the Phillies aren't any good? Like, it's ridiculous. You're going to say if the Dodgers lose whenever they play, they're not any good? No. Getting through these games, a lot has to go your way and a lot has to happen. That's our game. That answer it, Kurt, or probably 3 other questions?
3 other questions, maybe 4.
All right, Todd, go ahead.
Okay, hopefully this solves the feedback problem. Sorry about that before.
That was brutal, Todd. That was brutal.
Sorry. It's not my fault, but I got it rectified.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Don't take the responsibility. Sounds consistent.
As far as Tobias's year went, do you feel like he did enough? Did you see enough from him that you can pencil him in as a surefire member of that rotation for next year? And then also, do you think he showed you even another level of his competitiveness in Game 3? The way he pitched and just the emotion that he showed out there coming off that mound after that 5th inning. And I mean, he looked like a 10-year veteran out there.
Yeah, he emptied the tank there. He told us that. He came into the dugout after that inning and he goes, I think that's good. There was a chance we were going to send him back out because we felt like if he went 6 in that situation, 7, 8, 9 was set up. Probably wouldn't have mattered, but he said, hey, I was done. But yes, pencil him in. I would think pencil. He's got to go in the offseason and stay healthy and work and have the same edge that he had now that he's in it. Capable for sure. I'd like to, and in my thoughts, and again, a lot goes into this. A lot of people are involved in this, but in my thoughts, he's a definite. But he's got to go do it in the offseason. He's got to come back healthy, and he's got to recapture that mentality and recapture the arsenal, which isn't always easy. And the volatility of pitching, is alive and well. So, yeah, but I'm excited about Tobias. You want to talk about people that step forward. When that question was asked about, yeah, that's obvious. Him and Gasser. Gasser is coming off the injury, but at some point, whether it's next year or the year after, Gasser knows, hey, I can pitch in the big leagues. To have that happen, that's, like I mentioned, that's a thrill for a guy that's in a leadership position like me.
Adam?
Murph, assuming that you need a shortstop next year, that Willie is somewhere else, would you prefer to have Bryce Terang and Joey Ortiz stay where they're at because of what they did this year for you defensively? Or do you see one of those guys as someone you'd like to shift over to short?
Adam, it depends on who we acquire, if we acquire somebody. And that's, again, that's the job that the front office does. But the great understanding is Terang and Ortiz could both do it. And preference, be careful of what you wish for. We all wish that we played the Mets and not the Braves because, Fried and Sale and, all that kind of stuff. Be careful what you wish for. I kept telling everybody, hey guys, don't hope for anything, let this thing play out. So we'll see what happens. I want them both on the field next year. So hopefully they do enough in the offseason and come back again with the right mentality to get themselves on the field again.
And we'll go to Andrew Wagner.
Hey, Murph, thanks for doing this and the conversations all year. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I got a 2-parter, and I don't know if the Adam rules are in effect where I have to get this first one judged first. But one,
if it's a dumb question, we'll give you an A on your shirt for Adam.
Perfect. We talk a lot about where players need to improve going forward and stuff like that. Where do you think that you need to improve going into your second year? And then my second part is, Can you just talk a little bit about how much Ricky has meant to you and the team and the job that he did with these guys this year?
Yeah. Well, I've got a lot of areas that I could go to my notes here and read them down. Sometimes it's not as good to reveal what you're working on because then it becomes a point of, public knowledge, whatever, but that can be kind of intrusive in your life. So you don't get that personal when you do it. But just in general, I can get better at leadership. I can get better at managing a Major League Baseball game. I can get better with relating to staff. I can get better with, relating to media, being more concise. I can be better in preparing an attack for a different team. I can be better in dealing with the front office. I can be better dealing with umpires. I can be better with dealing with opponent managers. I've got specific things in all those. I can be better one-on-one with players. I can be better, explaining myself in times of frustration. All those things. I mean, it's just a litany of things that I can be better at, and I'm well aware of it and willing to try. I'm probably not going to fix it all, but at least I haven't so far in the 45 years I've been doing this or whatever it's been. But I love to do self-analysis, and I love to go through it and talk about what I can do better. What was the second part?
Just what Ricky Weeks meant to you as someone to work with and his impact on the team.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky's getting his feet wet in this side of the ball. You know what I mean? Like he had never really coached before, and I think it took him some time to adjust. But first of all, he's an unbelievable person, and he has a great presence. So those two things added a lot, and he's got credibility because he played for the Brewers. He played consistent for the Brewers. He played every day. So he represented and exuded exactly what I was looking for: a presence, an experience, a mentality. And I think that rubs off. And so I think from that standpoint, he was unbelievable. Learning the game, learning how to manage a game, learning how to deal with different staff members, all that. He's got work to do like everyone else does, including myself. But he's way ahead of the curve. When you think of guys in their first year of coaching or the first year in this, he's way ahead of the curve, and it's exciting about what he can become, even bigger impact next year.
Darius, go ahead.
Hey, Pat, you mentioned
Hey.
the unlikeliness of having Willie Damas back. What do you hope that some of the young guys and really just all the teammates kind of take from his time with the Brewers if he does not come back? And how much do you feel like he sort of ingratiated himself with the fans in the short time that he got here, arriving here a couple of years ago?
Yeah. I mean, Willie's been the same from day one. He walked in with a smile, and he showed up and played every day. He had an attitude and a presence about him that, again, it's when you're building a group and you have certain leaders, they have to exude kind of the mentality you want. It'd be a bummer if he came in and was really quiet and didn't talk to anybody and kept to himself and socially awkward. I mean, it wouldn't work. Even if he played really good, it's like we'd learn to accept him and love him, but it wouldn't have played the way it played out where he affected others. What effect did he have on Churio? Probably great. We can't ever really measure that. We can speculate. Just like coaching, you can speculate what you did for this guy or that guy, but you never know. But the truth is, Willie had this bring it every day mentality. He had this, I want to fight you in a positive way, competitively. I want to fight you every day. I'm here. And I'm not afraid of big moments. And I think that's irreplaceable. I think it's going to be really tough to replace him. Very, very tough.
We'll go to Steve.
Just wondering, you had spoken about William Contreras and said he still has a ways to go. There's a lot more he can add to his game. What specifically would you like to see him add to his game heading into next season?
Well, I think that he's willing to play every single day, and I think his offensive approach is one area where he doesn't realize how people respect him, so he doesn't adjust with the game sometimes. How people are pitching him, whatever. I think he will. I think that's experience. He's a young player. I don't know how many years. Was he have 3 years in? 3 or 4? Like 3, right? So that's a young player. That's a year older than or that's the same age as Mitchell, right? Mitchell's been hurt a lot of it, but it's the same timing, so to speak, maybe a year younger age-wise. So, William's still a young player, and he's going to get better at learning pitchers. He's going to get better at calling a game. He's going to get better at just his overall framing, defense, throwing, blocking. Every part of his game is going to grow. And his mindset of, he has a mindset of he wants to be the best. Well, if you want to be the best, then you got to trust in some people that can help you along to become the best. And I think that kid can be really special. He's got to be willing to do that, to make the necessary changes to go from all-star to, elite player.
Go ahead, Jack.
Murph, I'll start by echoing what some others have said in saying that I really appreciate your willingness to take all kinds of questions, tactical stuff, maybe some tougher questions, and just your willingness to go in depth on responses. So I really appreciate that. It makes all of our jobs a lot easier. I think it was a good experience for everyone this year. But my question is, as you kind of...
Thanks.
Absolutely. As you kind of look back at this year and everything that these guys experienced, some of the highs and then some of the lows of last week, what are some of the larger lessons and takeaways you want guys to take away from this year as they're looking back on this year, and also some lessons that they can take with them from this year to help them next year, beyond, maybe for the rest of their careers?
Yeah, I think they're probably learning that you can't get too high and too low, and there's no givens. You have to be in the moment and play the moment, and then wash it off and play the next moment. It's a really hard existence, but you just can't let yourself mentally or physically get too strung out about anything, and just keep one foot in front of the other, like you hear all the time. It's real simple. And I think what they can learn is there's power in an approach. There's power in a mentality. There's power in each other. You have to believe it first for it to happen. Now you can say, well, I believe we can play in the World Series. We could have played in the World Series this year. It's just look at what's going on. I mean, we've beaten all the teams that are going to be there. Look how consistent we were this year. I mean, we were capable of winning that. But the secret sometimes to winning it, that's why baseball's 162 games. The secret to winning it doesn't always happen on that particular night. You don't always get the bounce or the call or the execution. But I think players will take away that, wow, I can do this. And wow, I can get in a funk pretty quick because I let my mind get me down. I know I can do that too. You guys would laugh at the days that were most stressful for us, or most stressful for me, where I was actually like in a bad place mentally about the team and the adjustments we had to make. And you'd look at me like, Murph, you're 11 games up and you're feeling like this. It's just what you go through when you see certain things. And, that's why we need each other. We need perspective. Arnold talked me off the ledge many times this year with like being stressed out about this particular part of our game or that particular part of our game. I know he would do it. And I know his wife probably hates me because he'd stay late and kind of counsel me back into like, come on, Murph, So yeah, I think the players go through that even more, like they read it all, I'm doing that and I don't even read your guys' stuff. And it's like the players get affected by what's said or see that they're 1 for 23. they felt it, but they didn't know it for sure. And then all of a sudden, and he's got the lowest this of this for this month, and they start getting all that in their head. And we've got to be there to pick them up. But we all go through it. And I think it's those people that can charge ahead consistently. Charge ahead consistently with the right mindset. It's a new day, and here's my belief system, and it's going to be unwavering, undaunted. It's a word I came up with. Special word.
We'll go take two more. We'll go Kurt and then Adam.
I want to take three more, Mike.
Okay.
Murph, sort of with the logjam of outfielders that you have, do you foresee any positional changes, switches, like is Sal Frelick back to third base? Will that experiment be a possibility again going into next year? Another one that gets brought up often is Yelich. Is the outfield still the short and long-term future for him?
I mean, to answer the Yelich question, he's a pretty good outfielder, and he's a great player, and he's still very capable out there. And I don't think we have a logjam out there. I don't. I think we have a really good outfield. But I think because the DH is in place, you really have 4 spots for 5 people, and I think that's fair. That's assuming everybody comes back and there's no other moves involved. But I think it's a very solid area. But if you're talking Yelly to first base, I don't think that's in the cards anytime soon. Churio to the infield, because he's an infielder at heart. And if you watch him take ground balls, he's really good at it. But I don't think that's going to happen. Frelick to third, he was making great progress. And this kid might be able to pitch before it's all said and done. But yes, that's what's on the table for sure. To get the most, depending on if we acquire anyone, if we don't, if we lose somebody else, injuries, but to have that in our pocket, that versatility is, crucial.
Adam?
I'll throw another positional one at you, Murph. Did Aaron Ashby look so good in that late inning role that you think that's where he belongs?
I don't. If you're asking me today that I think does he belong in that late inning role, I would say no. I'd say he's more of a candidate to throw more innings because the stuff is pretty special and there's a variety there. But that's going to be discussed. Kind of the path, and those are very. And it also has to be a little bit player driven. The player has to want certain things. Or see themselves, or at least be in a healthy discussion about it. Yeah. That wasn't your only question, though. You just came up with that. Are you
That
muted?
was it. I've got one to finish on if you wanted 3.
Or you want to be last here? This is kind of an ego
Well,
thing
I
for you
mean,
now.
I'm just
You're
saying.
hitting cleanup. You're hitting cleanup. Now you want to be the finale. I mean, I think that's.
You said you wanted 3 questions.
Your brethren are sitting there going like, "Wow, I didn't realize Adam had this big of ego."
There's no other hand up. I mean, if Sophia was here, she'd make sure to ask one to keep you happy and balanced with the 3rd question. So
yeah, where is
here's
she?
what
Why is she not here?
Plot thickens. Here's what I would ask you though. You go.
Do we have to come up with like new words and new sayings? We're going forward. Do we have to come up with? We can't use undaunted or plot thickens or what other kind of shit did we say? We got to come up with all new shit.
Where's the daunt meter at?
Yeah, it's been all over the map, but yeah, it's the daunt meter is in my office right now, but I balanced it out. It's in the middle.
We thought maybe you might have broken the needle off after that last.
Go ahead, Adam. What do you got?
Well, I was going to ask you, Murph. Some of our friends here, they swing into the next sports season. They don't like get a break. But those of us who are baseball specific, it's always jarring when it ends. We're not working 14-hour days. What do you do when you go from 14-hour days for like 8 months straight and then all of a sudden it's over? What have you done the last week? I'm just curious.
Unpack, kids. I run a program out here, a nonprofit, and I'm involved in parents and board members and fundraising and phone calls. God, so many phone calls, thank yous, tips, gifts, getting my house set up. I need a full-time personal assistant if you guys have one. Yeah, kids' school, kids' activities, groceries, filing all my mail, going through piles and piles of mail. You know, they still send you mail. It's amazing. Most of it is junk, you know. What else did I do? Let's see, Zoom meetings with the media, talks with the front office, talks with players, calls from people who want jobs, calls from players who want jobs, calls from colleges that want to come and talk to my coach. What else? Yeah, I'm telling you, I wish, and watching MLB, watching the games. Yeah, it hasn't stopped for me yet. I like it this way though. Nothing's difficult. Think about if I had a real job. You know what I mean? Like that would suck, you know. But no, I'm fortunate as hell I get to do this, but there's just a lot of people in my life, and when you're old, you have a lot of people. I give all you guys a suggestion. Eliminate 5 people in your life this year. Eliminate 5. And just say, block their number, and then just tell them you lost your phone or whatever if they see you on the street. If you do that every year for the next 20 years, you'll have eliminated 100 people. I say that in jest. I'm pissed about it, but I appreciate the support and friendships of so many of them.
All right, Murph, thank you very much for your time. And again, I'll
Thank you, Mike. Geez, thank you. Does this thing continue for you? Do you get to stay on? What do you do in the off season? Do you take a real job, or I got you like not Chuck E. Cheese, but a place like that, you know, I can see you wearing a hat, is it Hardee's or Chick-fil-A? Do they wear hats?
partial to McDonald's.
Chuck E. Cheese was my first job.
Was it? I can see Mike being a manager at Chuck E. Cheese right now for the rest of the season.